It's Warmachine Wednesday, which means it's time to update your apps so we can talk about Lord of the Hunt. My name's Ryan. I used to be good at Warmachine. Welcome to Spell Rack. With this Warmachine Wednesday update, we got a new model for Old Umbry, the Lord of the Hunt. This has absolutely got to be, in my opinion, probably the coolest model in the entire range, especially when you consider that this guy is on an 80mm base. And look how big this wolf is compared to the base size. I mean, he takes up every bit of that 80mm. It's such a cool model. I mean, the rider himself is awesome. The smaller wolves, cool. But this sort of alpha here, absolutely insane. I just love it. It's beautiful. So let's take a look at its rules. We'll talk about him specifically, and then we'll talk about him synergistically inside of his faction. And then we'll discuss the way people need to approach this model if you're not playing Old Umbry. So the model himself, as I noted, he is on an 80mm base. He's in line with a lot of other factions that have these large 80s. They're not battle engines, they're just solos. He's probably most comparable to the chariot in Signar. He is speed 8, at 7, Rat 7, Defense 13, Armor 18. Obviously, it's a cavalry model. He has dual attack, Pathfinder, Tough. I think defensive-wise, 13, 18 is fine. 15 hit points. The Chariot in Signar has 18 hit points. It also has Carapace. So we'll need to look at this one and see if it's got any defensive tech. But the stats seem to be right down the middle. Let's look at abilities here. We have Body Snatcher, so this model gains corpse tokens, so it fits right in line in the theme of Old Umbry with corpse tokens. I think the first point of note with the corpse tokens is now you have another model that you need to feed corpse tokens to. Old Umbry has a great corpse economy, but if you need to give one to the starved every turn and you're trying to get some corpses somewhere else to some of your heavies and you're trying to get corpses to this guy, now maybe you are straining how many corpses you're able to create that quickly. Let's see how he interacts with them. Once he has corpses, he gains ability. So he's kind of like the heavies in that way. He doesn't actually spend the corpses. Once he has them, he gains abilities. One corpse token, he ignores stealth within 10 inches. His gun hint is 10 inches, so he ignores stealth. At 3 corpse tokens, he gains Hunter and Rate of Fire 2. Hunter says he ignores concealment and cover. So once you get him to 3 corpse tokens, he's ignoring stealth, cover, concealment. He can't see through clouds or anything. He can't see around buildings, can't see around forests, but he's going to ignore everything else and Rate of Fire 2. At 5 corpse tokens, if he dies, you remove all the corpse tokens and you heal him and you put him back. That's pretty gnarly. At 5 corpse tokens, you can put him forward. If he dies or is disabled, you remove all corpse tokens, all damage, and he's no longer disabled. That is a pretty significant sort of tank mechanic, right? Again, where we mentioned the chariot has carapace, he's got this if he gets to 5 corpses. 5 corpses is probably a lot to ask for. And so it depends how you're going to use this model. Are you going to be aggressive with him? Or are you going to be cagey with him? Probably benefits for you to be cagey with him to get to the 5 corpses and then to be able to commit him later to contest an objective. And then they're going to have to kill him twice at a 13-18 with 15 boxes. All right, let's look at the rest of his kit. Fortune Hunter. This model gains an additional dice on its attack and damage rolls against character models. Now this guy is scary. He can't spend corpse tokens to boost or buy, but he is going to hunt characters. We haven't looked at his weapon loadout yet, but we know what his purpose is now. His reposition 5 and steady. Speed 8, repo 5 means you are going to be able to play KG with this model in the early game. Let's look at his range attack. So Rat 7, range 10, POW 11, Weapon Master, magical. And he has Bonekeeper. Bonekeeper says, models destroyed by this weapon are removed from play. If this model destroys a living or undead model, you can choose a friendly model that can gain the corpse token, regardless of proximity. What it means is the Lord of the Hunt in its first few turns probably ends up playing KG. You're going to walk 8, you're going to throw 10, kill something, hopefully, get a corpse token, then you're going to repo 5. They're not high impact javelins. It's a POW 11 Weapon Master. The rest of his attacks on his kit, a POW 14 Magical Blast weapon at range 1 and a POW 15 range 1 weapon with crit shred, and that's the kit. So the way I assume this model is going to be played is whether you get him corpse tokens or not, for the first 2, 3, you're probably going to want to walk forward, throw a javelin at something, get a corpse, and then repo 5 back. Ideally, you've gotten him to 3 corpse tokens, and he's rate of fire 2, so he can kill 2 warrior models, generate 2 corpses, and then either take them on himself or pass them out to other models in your army. Where this model's really going to be dangerous is where Fortune Hunter comes online. This guy's going to be able to hunt your caster. He can hunt other characters too, be it the Black 13th or a character heavy, but for the most part, this guy's going to be threatening to your Warcaster or your Warlock. So let's think about that for a second. Range 10, Rat 7, so this is going to be Rat 7 boosted. Again, if you've got 3 corpses on him, he's ignoring cover, concealment, and stealth. So the only thing you can do is hide out of line of sight. He's going to be a POW 11 weapon master, but because of Fortune Hunter, he gains a 4th dice. So POW 11, 4 dice, 4 dice, average of 14. You're hitting a 25 total. If you have a 17 Warlock, it's going to take 8 damage, or a Warcaster, it's going to take 8 damage. If you got rate of fire 2, you're doing that twice. So now you're putting a lot of really scary pressure on somebody's Warcaster. As far as threat range is concerned for that Warcaster, it is a speed 8 model that throws 10, so you're looking at an 18-inch threat base, walk throw. However, he does have dual attack, so you're going to need to be mindful that he could charge 11 inches, kill something with his 2 melee initials, and then throw the javelins. So in actuality, is a 21-inch threat to your caster, again, with all the things that he ignores. So he's pretty nasty for that late game threat to your caster. Early game, he peppers some warrior models, he stays alive. Late game, absolute threat to just end the game. You probably don't want to be putting him too far forward. He's probably a little bit too valuable for that and not too tanky. So you could clear off some chaff that maybe runs or charges into you with the melee weapons and then throw your javelins. Now that we've kind of established him as a model, let's look at some synergies with warlocks. He doesn't really have any specific keywords inside of the faction that really trigger off of anything. So he's going to have limited synergies. His synergies are just going to be the very broad things that the warlocks can provide. For Lesnoy, obviously, you could befuddle a character forward. That's a big deal. And then you're going to have insight, right? You could give him +2/+2. For Lycia, bait the line isn't going to speed him up because that's battle group only. Pincushion could be very helpful on those range attacks. And Lycia could give him +2 defense on the feet. The Repo 5 isn't going to matter. Morzov is going to have Carnage, and so that could just give him +2 to hit. Aslanov is probably going to be one of the more helpful ones with him because the feet can give you +2 speed on the charge. So it gives you a 23-inch threat range. If somebody happens to leave their caster open or on a small camp early in the game, thinking that they're safe, 23 inches is half the table. You could throw some corpses on this guy real quick, feet, and then throw him forward and try to rate or fire 2 somebody's casters down just that quickly. I think that's the primary advantages that the Lord of the Hunt is going to see from the Warcasters. Again, it's pretty minimal synergies. Obviously, you have stuff on your spell rack. You could give him +2 defense. You could give him +2 armor. Okay, so let's talk about playing against this model. I think early game, you need to be afraid of this model for your Warcaster and generally your Warcaster only. Maybe if you have a character unit that you don't want to get killed, you're going to want to be careful with them too. But for the most part, his output is going to be fairly limited for 9 points until he's hitting a character. And so this guy, where I think he's going to be the most dangerous and where you need to be mindful of is sort of turn 3 or turn 4. Maybe you've thinned down the battlefield a little bit. Maybe your Warcaster had to overstretch to try to do some work somewhere, and now you're only camping 2. Lord of the Hunt is going to be a problem. If he can threat 21 inches and that rate of fire 2, he's going to be able to put some shots in your caster late game. Ideally, you don't want to give him corpses early, so you could put something that is battle group oriented in front of him. He is spreading 18 inches. He's going to find some warrior models generally. If you can keep stuff out of his way, he does have very minimal impact on the battlefield to start with. They could charge him forward. He threats 12 inches. They could commit him. and he's a 13/18 with 15 boxes. He's not that hard to kill. So really the main point is turn 3, turn 4 are the turns where you need to be hyper aware of this guy. Does that make him worth taking? If I'm the old Umbri player, do I want 9 points that dirtles for 2 turns, probably 3 turns, and then can win me the game on turn 4? I guess it depends, right? We'll see how lists evolve with this guy. Old Umbri is a very strong faction currently, and so I expect them to be so heavily impacted that a lot of lists won't have room for him. He doesn't super synergize with everything else. So that's the Lord of the Hunt. Absolutely amazing model. Will be fun to put on the battlefield. Will be fun, even if it is a turn 4 piece that just wins you the game. That's going to force somebody's Warcaster back. That can give you an advantage on the battlefield. So really looking forward to seeing this model come out because it's gorgeous. And then we'll see how it does on the table, if it's actually able to kill some Warlocks, Warcasters, and to see if it's worth its 9 points. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe. Until next time.